A demolition controversy. President Trump promised to respect the White House. Now the East Wing is coming down for his new ballroom. Plus, the final face-off. Cuomo and Mamdani go toe-to-toe in New York's last mayoral debate. And one shocking moment leaves the crowd gasping. And after review, the play stands. The NFL doubles down on Bad Bunny for the Super Bowl halftime show. The stories that matter, clear and credible. From across the country to around the world. These are your unbiased updates from Straight Arrow News. Good morning, I'm Craig DeGrelli. This morning, the White House is losing part of its history as crews begin tearing down the entire East Wing. What started as a promise to respect the existing building is now a full demolition to make way for President Trump's now $300 million grand ballroom. The New York Times was first to report on the expanded demolition that Trump said in July would not touch the existing White House.
It won't interfere with the current building. It'll be near it, but not touching it, and pays total respect to the existing building, which I'm the biggest fan of. It's my favorite place. I love it.
But the plan has clearly changed. The entire East Wing, built in 1942 and long used by the First Lady's office, is coming down. The White House says it's simply modernizing and rebuilding and calls the criticism, quote, fake outrage. But that criticism is loud, including from former First Lady Hillary Clinton, who wrote on X, it's not his house, it's your house, and he's destroying it. The National Trust for Historic Preservation is calling for a halt, warning the new ballroom could overwhelm the White House itself. Trump, who's personally raising money for the project, calls it a visionary addition that will host nearly 1,000 guests and stands as a beacon of American excellence. The White House is turning up the pressure on Moscow with President Trump announcing the most sweeping sanctions yet of his second term. The move slaps new restrictions on Lukoil and Rosneft, Russia's two biggest oil companies, along with dozens of subsidiaries that help fund the Kremlin war machine against Ukraine. Asked why now, Trump said simply, it was time.
These are tremendous sanctions. These are very big. Those are against their two big oil companies, and we hope that they won't be on for long. We hope that the war will be settled. I think that they'll certainly have an impact. They're massive sanctions. It's sanctions on oil. The two biggest oil companies, among the biggest in the world, but they're Russian. They do a lot of oil. And hopefully it'll push, hopefully he'll become reasonable, and hopefully Zelensky will be reasonable too. You know, it takes two to tango, as they say.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent called the move a clear message to Vladimir Putin, saying the U.S. is ready to take further action, if necessary, to end yet another war. The sanctions are expected to cut deeply into Russia's economy, which relies heavily on oil exports. The UK and EU have imposed similar measures, while European leaders prepare a new $200 billion package to keep Ukraine armed through next year. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, who was alongside the president, praised the move, saying the sanctions change the calculus and turn up the heat on Putin to negotiate a ceasefire. The U.S. has taken out two more suspected drug boats in the Eastern Pacific, the latest in a widening campaign to target cartels at sea. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth confirmed the strikes in posts on X, saying the vessels belong to a designated terrorist organization and were moving along a known narco-trafficking route in international waters. You see it there? The first strike hit Tuesday off Colombia's coast, killing 2 people. The second followed Wednesday morning, 3 more dead. That brings the total to 9 strikes since last month. At least 37 suspected traffickers killed.
Every one of these strikes involves boats and shipments that were tracked from the very beginning. From the moment these things were put together, the moment they were coordinated, we know where they're headed, we know what their drop-off points are, we know what organizations they're involved in. These things are tracked very carefully. There are hundreds of boats out there every single day, and there are many strikes that we walk away from and that the Department of War walks away from because it didn't meet the criteria.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio, speaking to reporters before boarding a plane to Israel this morning, praised what he called a precise, carefully tracked operation. The strikes mark the first time U.S. forces have hit cartel vessels in the Pacific since the strikes began. Less than 2 weeks until Election Day in New York City, and the final mayoral debate was anything but polite. Frontrunner Zohran Mamdani and former Governor Andrew Cuomo faced off last night, and it got personal. Cuomo hammered Mamdani as untested and unqualified.
You have never had a job. You've never accomplished anything. There's no reason to believe you have any merit or qualification for 8.5 million lives. You don't know how to run a government.
But the night's biggest moment came when Mamdani fired back, telling Cuomo one of his sexual harassment accusers, Charlotte Bennett, was in the crowd. The audience gasped, then cheered. Watch.
One of those women, Charlotte Bennett, is here in the audience this evening. You sought to access her private gynecological records. She cannot speak up for herself because you lodged a defamation case against her. I, however, can speak. What do you say to the 13 women that you sexually harassed?
Cuomo defended himself, saying multiple DAs reviewed the allegations and dropped the cases. Then he tried to shift topics to foreign policy. On substance, both men agreed ICE has no place in New York City, but split on how to deal with President Trump. Cuomo said he would confront him. Mamdani claimed Trump wants Cuomo to win. And Curtis Sliwa, he says you can't beat Trump, you negotiate. Election day in New York City is November 4th. North Carolina, now the first swing state to sign off on a new congressional map, one drawn to give Republicans an edge heading into next year's midterms. Protesters had to be removed from the House gallery before Wednesday's vote, which passed 66-48. The state Senate approved the plan Tuesday, also along party lines. The new boundaries put Democratic Congressman Don Davis at risk. His northeastern district would lose several counties and pick up more Republican territory along the coast. Election data suggests the GOP could now win 11 of North Carolina's 14 seats, up from the 10 they currently hold. And under state law, Democratic Governor Josh Stein cannot veto congressional maps. North Carolina joins Texas and Missouri, both of which have already passed new maps favoring Republicans ahead of 2026. Finally this morning, the NFL is sticking with its headliner, no matter how loud the backlash gets. Commissioner Roger Goodell says Bad Bunny is still your Super Bowl halftime act, even after President Trump slammed the choice, saying he'd never heard of him. The commissioner says the decision has been given lots of thought and that he cannot please everyone.
It's carefully thought through. I would say that I'm not sure we've ever selected an artist where we didn't have some blowback or criticism. It's pretty hard to do when you have literally hundreds of millions of people that are watching. But we're confident it's going to be a great show and that he understands the platform that he's on. And I think it's going to be exciting and a united moment.
Bunny, who's been openly critical of Trump, is expected to perform in Spanish when he takes the stage February 8th at Levi's Stadium. So like it or not, the Puerto Rican rapper, also known as El Conejo Malo, is bringing the beat to the big game. See? I knew that 4 years of high school Spanish would pay off, even 40-plus years later. All right, before we head out, here's a look at what's happening today. The National Association of Realtors releases September home sales numbers this morning at 10, followed by Freddie Mac's weekly update on mortgage rates at noon. Later, Secretary of State Marco Rubio is set to arrive in Israel with plans to meet Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu tomorrow. At 3, President Trump is set to make an announcement from the White House. No word yet on what it's about. Be sure to sign up for our Unbiased Updates newsletter. It's the only thing more reliable than your alarm. Go to san.com/newsletters. Those are your Unbiased Updates for this Thursday. We'll see you back here tomorrow, Friday. We love that. For all of us here at Straight Arrow News, I'm Craig DeGrelli. Have a great day.